Excuse me.
So, Miss, what brings you here?
I'm scared that my husband's going to kill me.
Okay. So you're just afraid.
I know that he'll do that.
Whoa. How do you know that?
Because I know.
Well, all right, you're making a comment. How do you know?
Because he told me.
As a viewer that just started watching this video, you may be wondering how someone has found themselves in this frightening and vulnerable position. Well, the answer to that question actually began 13 years earlier. On the evening of January 6th, 2006, at approximately 11:30 p.m., the Crestview Police Department received a chilling 911 call.
I ran in and she got into the house and Melissa's dead on the living room floor.
Okay, if she's unconscious, she's not talking to you, anything?
No, there's blood everywhere.
Is she breathing? Can you get a pulse of any kind?
I haven't even touched her, no ma'am. I didn't want to mess with nothing. She's been murdered.
The caller's name was Christopher Cadenhead, and the woman that was found dead in her home was 33-year-old Melissa Howard. Chris was just stopping by Melissa's place while he headed on his way to a hunting trip. When he arrived at the house at 11:15 p.m.,
Oh, my grandma's fucking dying, Johnny.
Daughter, Carrie Winkler, and her boyfriend
She's in the
Daniel,
hospital,
waiting
can
on the
barely
front
breathe and
porch.
shit.
Carrie
Probably gonna
found herself
die.
locked out of the house, and like Christopher, had tried to contact Melissa without any luck. As the three waited on the porch, they tried several ways to get into Melissa's house. After about 15 minutes, Daniel was finally able to unlock the front door using a FedEx ID card.
I used FedEx ID card, like a credit card, to open the bottom lock, and I opened the door.
The moment the door swung open, Carrie rushed inside, only to be confronted with the sight of her mother's lifeless body lying on the floor, in the middle of what looked like a ransacked home. Shocked by what she had just seen, the 15-year-old rushed back outside before Christopher could even step foot inside. After seeing Melissa himself, he then used Carrie's phone to call 911. They quickly dispatched other officers to the scene.
There's been a shooting there, ma'am. Is this Crestview PD? The victim who has been shot is Melissa Howard.
Despite Chris initially believing that Melissa had been shot, the EMTs later confirmed that she had actually been stabbed in the neck. The wounds were so deep and precise that they had impacted her spine. In most murder cases, the first suspect is usually the victim's spouse or romantic partner, and this case was no different. Although Christopher Cadenhead was married to another woman, he quickly admitted that he and Melissa were having an affair. So, detectives wondered if Christopher or Melissa's ex-husband, Brian Howard, were involved in her death. Since Chris was having an affair, detectives presumed that his motive could have been to hide said affair from his wife. However, during the 911 call,
Super, what's up,
could be
boss?
overheard in the background having a conversation with his wife on his own cell phone.
Oh my God. Sherry, come to Crestview.
This call to his wife and apparent confession regarding his affair seemed to eliminate any motive for Chris to kill Melissa. So detectives decided to focus on Brian as their
How you
main
doing, Supa?
suspect. Homicide detective and lead investigator Kenny Pinkard from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement described the crime scene as clean and lacking any evidence, which led him to believe that the murder was executed by a professional hitman. But why would Brian hire a professional hitman? About 3 years prior to Melissa's tragic death, she had gone through a divorce with her ex-husband, Brian. The separation then led to a prolonged and emotionally draining custody battle over their son. After the court ruled in Melissa's favor, Brian was visibly upset by the verdict and decided to disregard
Thinking
the
of
court's
starting
decision. This initiated
an
second
online
legal
store for
battle.
niche
Despite going through
SM64
several
speedrunning and
hearings,
stuff?
the
Yeah,
court
do it.
ruled in Melissa's favor
That's
again.
sick.
However, this didn't put a stop to Brian's harassment.
That's
and
sick.
Melissa would go on to tell many friends that she was worried about what Brian might do next.
I told you I'm gonna try and open up my own bar and grill and stuff, bar and restaurant, you know?
Local Mexican restaurant
Wilkie's
called
Pub,
Aztec.
I don't even know, we can't call it
Including
Wilkie's
family
something.
members, other patrons, and
Wilkie's
order
Sports
receipts
Bar,
to
that's kind of what I'm
confirm
leaning
this there.
towards.
In fact, Brian had
Wilkie's.
actually arranged for Melissa to drop off their son at the restaurant, which seemed to strengthen his alibi. On top of Brian's seemingly solid alibi, the forensic team was also facing significant challenges in their investigation. Not only were they unable to locate any fingerprints at the scene, but they were also unable to extract any DNA from the sweater that Melissa was wearing. Since the sweater was completely soaked in her own blood, it was nearly impossible to isolate any other DNA profiles. They did, however, notice that a recently installed
Wilkie's by itself is a good name. You don't know if it's taken though. No, I don't think it
and
is.
that her diary
Wilkie's.
was
I like
missing.
that.
Still, they had nothing that could directly connect Brian Howard to the crime scene.
That's what they used to
Despite
call
the
me in
absence
school. It
of
was never
physical
Jack or
evidence,
nothing.
there
It was
was
always by my
abundance of
last name. Hey,
circumstantial
Wilkie.
evidence potentially tying Brian to the crime.
Sounds
However,
iconic.
For the time being, the police decided to focus on other potential suspects. The third person that they wanted to speak to was a man named Russell Holbrook, who Melissa's daughter claimed had been by the house a couple days earlier. So they contacted Russell and asked him to stop by the police station for a short interview. The first thing that they asked him was when he had last seen Melissa.
Bro, I like that. Wilkie's. I think he might have just solved that conundrum for me.
They then told him that Carrie had already advised them that he had come by the house a couple days before her mother's murder. He
That's
then
sick.
immediately changed his
W
story.
chat right there. Where's my phone? It's charging.
Aside from Russell's
Screen capture.
suspicious lie, law enforcement went
Boom.
on to hit dead end
Screen
after
capture
dead
that.
end. And without any
It's
concrete
happening. That's
evidence
set in
pointing
stone.
to
I
one
like it.
specific killer, the case of Melissa Howard
Good
went
shit,
cold
Super.
for 13 years. Let's now fast forward to May of 2015. A new agent, Megan Palumbo, took over the case from Detective Dennis Haley, and the investigation was reopened. Initially, investigators suspected that Melissa was assaulted from the front near the door. However, Palumbo's theory suggested that the attack occurred from behind. This theory
Hi.
No, pretty way.
Chilling. Streaming. Yeah, I see that. So.
Not much. Just chilling. She's on the phone, just fucking gabbing away to Aunt Sue, so I figured I'd come up here and bug you.
Yeah. Fucking.
Got some free cheese.
Yeah.
$20 worth of cheese for free. They're just giving it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5-finger discount, baby.
I ain't fucking paying. Fuck, most expensive part. Fucking $10 for a fucking...
You better be careful. They could just sit there and have you on cameras, and once you get to like a $1,500 limit, there's
Yeah, I didn't realize though. There's an accident, I'm sorry.
$1,500 time. It don't really matter if it's an accident at that point. It's kinda just like
Could be. Could be. If that's the case, I'm well past 1,500. Oh, by the way, I've got like a fucking like probably 50 grams of THCA sitting in the house. Do you want? That's free THCA.
yeah. What the fuck?
It's just sitting there. It's like I got
A
another
big old ball of fucking.
I've got a Ziploc bag full of it. It's like looks like it's a heart.
Yeah, it looks like big old chunks of crack.
Yeah.
And down.
I'll give you a fucking probably like a free fucking half quarter. See how she goes from there.
Well, do you want to do me one more? Do you want to do me a fucking bunch of edibles with it? Yeah, just make like brownies or something with it.
You want brownies?
Whatever. Gummy bears, whatever the fuck.
Gummies, yeah. Make you some gummies. Then I'll give you some THC on top of that.
Okay, well,
You got
just
some dabs.
yeah, that'd be sick.
Yeah, I know.
But you could just do the fucking the gummies too.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna be because I haven't fucking made it with those.
Huh.
But I assume that it's gonna be fucking like
Gas.
making them with distillate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gas.
Yeah, it'd probably fuck you up.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'll do that.
Sick. Fucking sitting there like talking to her at the end with like fuck. And she's like, yeah, Neil should be fine. Yeah, it should be fine. But Martha, she's gonna fucking die. Like, chances of her surviving this are slim to none.
Yeah.
And then she goes, Mom, Jack says Nancy's gonna die.
Well, eventually, yeah.
I was like, Martha, what the?
You're talking about me. I don't like what Jackie's saying.
That's basically it. Like, Martha, don't be fucking spilling my beans like that, bitch. Mummy.
theory prompted a re-examination of the DNA on the back of the sweatshirt. In doing so, investigators were now able to use a new DNA testing process, which could determine a DNA profile using a smaller sample size. This process located a new DNA profile on a cleaner portion of the sweater, and the profile was immediately sent in for identification. 2 weeks later, the lab results uncovered that the new DNA profile did not belong to Melissa or her ex-husband. Instead, it seemed to match the DNA of Brian's best friend, Michael Holbrook. Although not an exact
Bro, that's
match,
super cool. Yo. Super, that's pretty fucking cool, man. I'm not talking to you, Howie, sorry. Yeah, I knew I wasn't. Try them anyway. You want to see the results? Yeah, my chat just said how we gotta try the fucking gummies anyway. Eh? My chat said we gotta try those gummies out anyway. They want to see the results. Yeah, yeah.
Probably whip up tomorrow on a board or something.
Yeah, man. Fuck. I'll help you if you want. I'll help you if you want.
What?
I'll help you if you want.
Oh,
Yeah, I know.
oh, fuck it. Unless you want to come over while I do it. Then it's
Yeah,
fine.
it's kind of just do something.
Yeah, fuck yeah. You'll end up with at least 100 gummies. I'm going to put 5 grams of that THCA in there.
Yeah.
So 100, so there'll be 50 milligrams a piece. It's probably 45-ish.
45-ish, yeah.
1 milligrams a piece, but it should just be fire. You open that window up a bit.
Give her.
That's cool. It's fucking warm in here, and you're wearing fuck.
Dude, it's fucking... Yeah, I know, my desk's falling apart.
No, I just got caught on it.
My desk's falling apart, I know. It's fucking like a steady 80 degrees in here all year round. And then in the summer, it gets up to like 90, 100 in here.
Oh, easily over 100, bro. You fucking, it's stupid. I trust me. I lived in this room.
I know. I lived it. I lived here. I jerked off, and were you jerking off? You on fire here one time. You remember that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you remember that shit?
I think it was more than once.
It was definitely more than once. Mom, how he's lighting on fire? No, he's not.
No, he's not. He wouldn't do something like that. He wouldn't do something like that. Get over here, you little bastard.
I found $100 Jamaican bill.
Yeah, I see that.
It was in one of my books.
That's cool.
Like, where the fuck did I get this?
Yeah, no shit. What's up? What's up, motherfuckers? Martha, you making my fucking spinach chicken or what? You know?
You never realized how big the chair was? Yeah, bro, this chair goes past my waist. This thing's fucking, as comfortable as it looks, it sucks. This chair's worse than my other one, for fuck's sakes, for sure.
You need a chair to get money.
Nah, not really. This one's
Sure, I
good.
get you a ballin' ass chair for cheap.
Nah.
For free.
Free. Go up to the fucking self-checkout. He just...
Scan a thing of lettuce.
He just...
Oh, forgot to scan the chair. Green onions. It's cheaper than lettuce.
That's fucking
That's
hilarious.
usually what I do is the green onions.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. I'll buy something in produce that's expensive, but then I'll bring it in as green onions.
Yeah, and it's just like 99 cents.
Yeah.
It's 99 cents. Buy a fucking thing of blueberries, $5.99. Oh, some green onions.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, baby.
Oh, fuck.
It's okay, I'm going downstairs. Hopefully Martha will get her fucking ass.
Go to that one.
Yeah. Cheese dip.
Cheese dip! Artichoke dip! Let's go! Get in the kitchen, woman! Get in there, woman! My sister just yells out, "Fuck you!" Fuck you! All right, back to this video.
The DNA was found to be familial, suggesting that it could belong to a close male relative of Michael. And if you've been paying attention, you may recognize Michael's last name. Russell Holbrook, Michael's brother and a friend of Brian, was one of the 3 initial suspects who were looked into back in 2006. And not only did Russell lie to the police during his interview, he was also the only suspect who had previously refused to undergo a DNA test. By this time, Russell had moved to Huntsville, Alabama, when Florida
I was
detectives
gonna say
arrived
Huntsville,
at his
Canada.
doorstep with a warrant to obtain his DNA. Detective Ralph Garrett noticed a dramatic change in Russell's demeanor, stating that it looked like his heart leaped from his chest into his throat. The results of the DNA test confirmed that the DNA found on the sweater was an exact match to Russell's DNA, marking a significant breakthrough in the investigation. But now there was another question. Was Michael with Russell when the murder took place? A surveillance video obtained from a local Walmart captured the Holbrook brothers together shortly after
How
the
did they
time
get
of the
this surveillance so many years later? It's crazy.
murder. In the footage, Michael can be observed examining his hands, possibly indicating the presence of blood on them. When confronted with this footage, Michael told the police that the two had gone to the store to purchase medicine for Russell's girlfriend's child, and that he was only looking at the dry skin on his hands. As the investigators closed in on the brothers, a warrant was obtained to tap both of their phones. Utilizing a technique referred to as tickling the wire, detectives strategically leaked details regarding the DNA results to some of Michael's friends. Their aim was to have that information get back to Michael and provoke a phone call between the brothers that could offer crucial insights into the case. What you're about to hear is a phone conversation between Russell and Michael. Russell now makes it very clear that he did in fact visit Melissa's home just 2 days prior to her death.
Can you talk?
Yeah, I got a few minutes.
I went to her house and talked to her.
Went to Missy's house.
Yeah.
So you've been to her house before.
Yes.
So I mean, then it's possible that your DNA's in her house.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been all over hers.
No, of course not. It's over there getting you a piece, but
Yeah, I went.
oh man, it's like we said, they're trying to scare me. So now they're telling everybody in Okaloosa County that they have me dead to rights. No, he says they got some new DNA technology. He showed me a paper saying they have your DNA in multiple places on her body, and that I have put myself with you. But
Right.
he showed me, he had a paper saying that you're 1 in 39 million. Your DNA was all over her body. Yada yada yada.
I mean, that doesn't even make sense.
I mean, it don't make sense, and that's what I told him. It didn't make sense to me either. And I kept saying, well, what's all this got to do with me? And he just kept saying, well, you know, we got you on video with him at Walmart, so you was there too. He told me, he said, you know, we just wanted to give you this one last chance, you know, to give a statement. And I was just saying I was with you to protect you from your wife.
Well, they're trying to say you and I planned it,
Right?
premeditating. So then they get you as principal and get me as capital.
Although they spoke rather cryptically, detectives believed that this conversation suggested that the two men acted together. However, at this point in the
It
investigation,
doesn't mean shit though. They could just be talking about the charges implied. Like that's easy to
the
do.
detectives had only gathered sufficient evidence against Russell to secure a warrant for his arrest. On November 8th, 2016,
That's
Russell
fuck all.
Holbrook was formally charged with the first-degree murder of Melissa Howard.
A Florida grand jury has returned an indictment in a murder case involving a local woman, Melissa Howard, that had gone unsolved for almost 13 years. David Russell Holbrook Jr. was arrested in Alabama and returned today to Florida to stand trial on charges for first-degree murder.
Detectives hoped that Russell would negotiate a plea deal and, in doing so, implicate both Michael and Brian. They were convinced that Brian had solicited the Holbrook
Take that one on
brothers
the
to
shoulder for
murder
his boy.
Melissa Howard. During Brian's interview at the time of the murder, Brian made a peculiar statement. There was a rumor that I was supposed to kill Russell's wife, and in return, Russell was supposed to kill my wife. This odd remark led officers to suspect that this might have indeed been the plan. Russell rejected any plea deal, refused to incriminate others, and was prepared to proceed to trial. On February 19, 2019, 13 years after the murder of Melissa Howard, Russell Holbrook's trial finally began. Clifton Drake, the state attorney, began his opening statement by presenting the connections between Melissa Howard and the two significant men in her life at the time of her tragic death. The backdrop to this case was a bitter custody dispute between the former couple, which Melissa had won. Drake pointed out that Melissa was set to assume custody on the very day of her untimely death, a fact he stressed to the jurors.
You will hear through the course of the trial that there was an ongoing custody battle between Brian Howard and Melissa Howard over primary custody of Taylor. He was about 11 years old at the time. Primary custody was with Brian Howard, and Melissa Howard was seeking to have primary custody with her.
Drake addressed the pivotal role of DNA findings in building the case against Russell. While he acknowledged that some of the DNA samples had encountered contamination, Drake sought to play down the impact of this issue on the case's validity.
You will hear testimony from Jennifer Hattler that when she compared Russell Holbrook's DNA to the male DNA on Melissa Howard's sweatshirt, it matched. You will hear her testify that the frequency of occurrence of those two being a match is 1 in 39 million people.
Damn.
You will also learn
That's actually not even like.
maybe during the defense.
That's not even really that bad.
A DNA
1 in 39 million,
occurred
like
in this case.
that's
And I will be presenting
not good
testimony
for like
of exactly what
prosecution.
happened.
39
And you will hear
million.
Ms. Hattler explain what happened, what it
Oh,
means,
no.
how it was dealt with.
The argument that DNA test results may be contaminated is often used by defense attorneys as a core tactic to challenge the validity of a DNA match. This piece of information
way better
played a
odds.
crucial role in Holbrook's defense.
When I got a
with
DNA
defense
test,
attorney
I
John
was
Jarvis
like,
highlighting it during his opening statement.
mine was like
They
1 in
admit that there was a
1.7 billion or
contamination
something like
done by
that.
this
Is
very
the odds.
analyst. I think that testimony is going to be out there. That a
My
contamination
daughter, it's fucking
occurred
wild.
during
So yeah, she's
this
definitely mine. I
investigation
can't argue that.
of this trial. Russell was at her house 2 days prior. His DNA, touch DNA, could have been left there. He could have sat on the couch, and he could have left some DNA there, or any other ways could have been left there. And Melissa Howard could have sat down on the same couch, and I think the evidence is going to show that that's a possibility that could have occurred.
On top of the questionable DNA evidence, Jarvis also went on to point out that no clear motive had been established as to why exactly Russell Holbrook would want to murder Melissa.
We're all unable to produce a motive.
I need to get my
for
thieving
Russell
up
to
till
commit
like
this crime. 13
80
years
in my.
could produce one. No motive. Absolutely no motive.
The defense then wrapped up their case and asked the jury for a verdict of not guilty. Going back to the DNA, the prosecution then
We'll just
called
do
senior
this.
crime
We'll get
lab
all these
analyst
done,
Jennifer
and we're gonna
Hattler to the stand.
do is we're gonna
Jennifer
highlight
explained
all
to
of
the
them.
jury
We're
that
gonna
the
get like
contamination was quickly identified and that the evidence should still be trusted.
My name is Jennifer Hattler.
Ms. Hattler, where are you employed?
I'm employed at the Florida Department of Law Enforcement in the Biology and DNA section.
Mrs. Hattler, we've talked about a contamination that occurred in this case. Is that correct?
Yes.
It turns out that the contamination was actually from a pair of scissors that had not yet been cleaned after being used in a different investigation. Once she realized the error, she used a second sample that was not contaminated and testified that she felt the evidence was enough to confirm Russell's presence at the crime scene.
The partial foreign DNA profile matched the DNA profile from David Russell Holbrook. The frequency of occurrence of the partial
63,000.
DNA profile for unrelated individuals is 1 in 39 million.
After explaining the contamination issue, the prosecution directed their focus onto witness testimony. Carrie Winkler, Melissa's daughter, who was just 15 years old at the time, was the first person to discover Melissa's lifeless body. During the trial, she was asked about that tragic moment.
What happened once the door was opened? It's okay, ma'am. Take your time.
Once we were able to open the door, I went into the front foyer and I turned the light on.
What did you see once there was better light?
My mom lying there.
You describe the layout of what you could see and where you saw your mom's body.
The foyer is in the very front, which opens up to the living room. And we had a huge entertainment center on the back wall, and she was lying on the wall all the way across.
What did you do once you realized that your mom was there?
I ran back out.
After explaining the heartbreaking events of that evening, she was asked if Russell had spent any other time at their house other than the visit that took place just 2 days before the murder.
Was there any other time that Russell was at your house other than that Wednesday night?
No.
Why not?
Russell was not allowed at our house. He was considered one of Brian Howard's friends, and my mother was going through a custody battle with Brian Howard. He had made several
Hey,
threats
Rocky.
on her life. She considered Russell to be his friend and dangerous. She said that she had caught him at her house before with a gas can, and I was to never let him nor any of Brian's friends at our home, inside the home, ever.
As Carrie's questioning wrapped up, the prosecution's case against Russell seemed stronger than ever, and that's when Melissa's married boyfriend was called to the stand.
How long had you been seeing Melissa Howard before she died?
Right at 3 months. Exactly 3 months, I believe.
What time roughly did you arrive at Melissa's house?
I believe it was 11:13.
Was anyone there when you arrived?
11:13.
And a guy she had gone on a date with, Daniel, was under the front porch light, huddled together. And Carrie said that they can't get her to answer the door, but we could hear her phone ringing inside. And I went around to the left side of the house to see if her bathroom light was on, and it wasn't. By the time I turned around and started to head back to the front, Daniel had jimmied the front door lock loose with a FedEx card. And when my eyes did adjust, I could see Melissa lying on the floor in the living room.
What was your reaction when you saw her?
At first, I thought she had a seizure or something medically was wrong.
Did there come a point where you thought something different had happened?
Yes, sir. I walked in, and the closer I got to her, I could tell that there was a pool of blood around her head. She was face down.
Did anyone call 911?
I did.
What phone did you use?
I used Carrie's phone because I believe I asked her to call, and she, I don't know if she was shaking and couldn't call, but I remember taking the phone from her and calling 911.
Although his testimony seemed very genuine, Russell's attorneys worked to paint Chris as an alternative suspect. They did this by focusing on Christopher's extramarital affair, suggesting that it could have been a motive for the murder.
I guess Melissa Howard knew that you were married, is that
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And there was some talk that you were going to be leaving your wife, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir. I was pretty much heading out the door. Yes, sir.
And you had kind of indicated to her, Miss Melissa Howard, that you wanted to be with her. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, were you ever aware of any pregnancy tests being taken?
I was not.
Okay. Were you ever discussed, or had any law enforcement officers ever confront you with that, the possibility that there might have been some pregnancy tests?
When I was, my first statement at the end of January, it was brought up about that, and I had nothing about it because she had told me her tubes were tied, and her neighbor said that she had to take that to something to do with her meds she was taking. She had to take a pregnancy test after taking meds. I don't know what meds.
But you were confronted by FDLE agents with the possibility that she was taking a pregnancy test, or they asked you about that, didn't they?
They asked me if I knew that there was one in the garbage can, and I had no idea.
But you were questioned on it.
Yes, they did ask me about it.
All right.
The defense then brings up the clip found in the background of the 911 call, where Chris can be heard telling his wife about the murder. This is the clip, to be precise.
Oh my God. Sherry, time to crush you.
Using this clip, they then push Chris even more by focusing on the circumstances surrounding his confession to his wife about the affair.
She didn't know what you were doing over at a dead woman's house either, did she?
She had no idea.
But so she finds out on this night that you're having an affair, and not only are you having an affair, but you're having an affair with this dead woman that you discover. Is that right?
Yes.
Although there is a possibility that this push to paint Chris as an alternative suspect was successful, at this point, the prosecution still seemed to be coming out on top. The next person called to the stand was Melissa's son, Taylor Howard, now 20 years old and had been raised by his dad, Brian, following the death of his mother.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Taylor Howard, Melissa Howard's son.
Mr. Howard, could you angle that microphone towards you a little bit? It bends a little bit. Thank
Yes,
you,
sir. No problem.
How old are you, sir?
I'm 24.
How old were you in January of 2006?
I was 11.
What grade were you in?
I was in 4th grade.
The prosecution asked him to recount the details of his last interaction with Melissa.
I'd like to ask you
Looks
specifically
like Justin
about
Bieber.
Friday, January 6th of 2006.
Yes, sir.
When did you see her?
I went home that day after school. She got off work a couple hours after, and she came home, and I was there for a couple hours. We played some board games, and she wound up taking me to a dinner with my dad and his side of the family, and that was the last time I seen her.
Do you remember what kinds of games that you were playing with your mom?
Yes, sir. We're playing Jenga, and we're playing Connect 4 as well. I think we're playing Life, a couple of different board games.
When your mom dropped you off, can you just
Life,
describe
how
how that
convenient.
exchange went?
Very emotional. She was very upset. I knew something was off that night. My dad stayed in his vehicle, and they exchanged words across the parking lot. I didn't want to leave her. She was really upset, and I wound up getting in the truck with my dad.
Taylor's testimony introduced the defense's suggestion that perhaps his father, Brian, was another alternative suspect that could have been the killer that night. On cross-examination, they make this theory very clear by focusing on Brian's alibi, the Azteca Mexican restaurant.
The Azteca restaurant is actually very close in proximity to your mom's house, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Very close.
Yes, sir.
Now, you say when you got home that evening, do you know when you got home?
I don't recall.
Don't recall the exact time?
Yes, sir.
But you just recall that your dad went upstairs?
Yes, sir.
And nobody saw him after that?
Yes, sir.
That's all the questions I have.
Both attorneys wrapped up their cases and prepared for their closing arguments. The state prosecutor went first and highlighted that despite the questions surrounding the DNA results, there was enough substantial evidence that identified Russell as the killer. For instance, the inconsistencies in his story throughout the police interrogations, coupled with his efforts to intimidate Melissa prior to her tragic death, and the surveillance footage of him and his brother at the nearby Walmart. He also attributed Russell's physical stature and military background as contributing factors that enabled him to inflict stab wounds that led to her death. The defense attorney contended that the prosecutors failed to provide a motive for the murder. There was no indication that Russell had benefited
I don't
from the
necessarily
death
know
of
if he
Brian
did it or
Howard's
not, but I don't really
ex-wife,
feel as though they have a
highlighting
good
that the
case.
state had yet to establish the identity of Melissa's killer. On February 27th, 2019, Russell Holbrook was read his verdict.
Clerk will publish the verdict at this time. The defendant will rise.
We, the jury, find as follows as to the offense charged in the indictment, guilty of first-degree premeditated murder as charged in the indictment. So say we all this 27th day of February 2019.
Russell Holbrook was convicted of the first-degree murder of Melissa Howard. He was sentenced to life in prison in the state of Florida Department of Corrections. After the final verdict, Melissa's family and the detectives who worked on the case continue to have suspicions that Russell may not have acted alone. That brings us right back to the interrogation footage at the beginning of this video. The person in this footage is actually Jordan Victoria Howard, the new wife of Brian Howard. This interview took place just 3 months after Russell's conviction.
So, Ms. Howard, what brings you here?
I'm scared that my husband's going to kill me.
Okay. And your husband is?
Brian Howard.
The lead detective of the Melissa Howard case, Megan Palumbo, was immediately brought into the room to help with the questioning.
We know what happened in 2006. So we don't want that to happen to you. Okay? And we can't undo that, but we can try to fix this.
So you're just afraid?
I know that he killed Melissa. I know that he did that. And I know that he'll do that.
Whoa. How do you know that?
Because I know.
Well, all right, you're making a comment. How do you know?
Because he told me.
He didn't tell me that Russell's the one that actually did it.
Mhm.
He said some other name, I'm sure, just to cover Russell.
Okay.
But he told me that he hired someone to do it.
Jordan claimed that Brian had arranged for someone else to kill Melissa. Brian Howard was later arrested and convicted of a misdemeanor charge of domestic abuse. He continues to deny any involvement in his ex-wife's murder. Neither he nor Michael have been charged in that case, as Russell remains behind bars for life.
What are you swearing about? Hey? What are you swearing about? Hello?
The outside is waxed.
Yeah, the outside wax.
Yeah, how much of the outside is waxed? Taste a little piece of that.
I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. Redeem chair time. How about exclamation point redeem toke? Eh? 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 Shawnee? Shawnee. Toki, eh? Alright, bro. Let's do it. Rocky, you're my buddy, bud. You're my buddy, bud.
A gunshot was heard in a university dorm.
Bud.
The student's family had called to express concerns.
You're my buddy.
The student might be in possession of a weapon.
Campus police conducted a welfare check.
University officials say that the officer had gone to the 19-year-old's room for a welfare check and then while there found evidence.
But the officer trying to ensure the student's safety ended up losing his life at his very hands. This is the story of Officer East Floyd Jr.
The family of the deceased officer will be in the prayers of the entire Texas Tech community.
And his perpetrator.
The suspect here,
Looks like Danny Mullen.
Hollis Daniels, is 19 years old.
How it all happened. To answer how it all happened, we need to answer where it all started. And it all started about 24 hours ago at a traffic stop. At around 1 a.m. on Monday, October 9th, Lubbock police pulled over a 19-year-old college student at Texas Tech University. His family owns all the movie theaters in town, and the neighbors think highly of him.
I don't know what to think about that, but he certainly seemed to be a polite, nice kid. You'd want your own son to act like that.
But this story isn't about Hollywood drama.
Hey, what's going on, man? I'm Officer Police Department. Okay, what's going on tonight, man? Where were you coming from?
My buddy's house.
Why don't you guys step out for me, okay?
Why is that, sir?
Because we got a call about you going over there.
Oh, who?
Huh?
Say what now?
We got a call about you causing a disturbance.
A disturbance?
Yeah, over at your friend's house.
Oh, no.
This innocent-looking 19-year-old is Hollis Daniels. But if you heard the news, you know he is nothing but innocent. It all started a few hours ago when his friend Leo noticed his gun went missing, and he asked Daniel to return it.
What's your
The
friend's name?
oxide's downstairs.
Leo?
Downstairs.
Leo? Okay, why is Leo calling us, telling us?
It's on the counter, kitchen counter.
Oh, I don't know. I was going back over there to see if I
Oh, that's where it was
Why is he
last.
calling us?
I'm sorry,
Huh?
I don't know. I don't know if
Okay.
where it is.
But
Now.
that's
It could be
not
downstairs
what
in the
his
living room.
friends and family remember him to be like. But funny is something he can't be in this situation. When the authorities roll up to his driver's side window, Daniels is quick to play innocent. He flat out denies making any threats and claims he had no idea about the stolen gun altogether.
Do you have any guns or any weapons in the vehicle? Any drugs or anything like that? Okay, so why is your buddy calling us?
I have no idea, sir. Because I guess he didn't. I don't know.
Hollis Daniels looked extremely nervous during the traffic stop. The officer tells him to get out of the car.
Well, you come out and step out here and talk to me, man.
Rajat, my dude, what's up?
Yeah, it is.
How's
necessary,
life?
Okay? But I gotta figure out what's going on, man. I mean, you're not in trouble right now, man. I just gotta figure out what's going on. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Come on. Just come stand over here for me, okay?
But he resists Daniel's stutters as he stays put in his SUV. Then he starts rambling about getting into a fight with his friends over a lost cell phone.
So I went over there, and we were hanging out earlier tonight.
Okay.
And I went back over there, and we had a little dispute, and he knocked me on the floor, and so I thought that I went back and looked around and looked and see.
It's alright, just alright.
Okay.
And so, and it wasn't. He didn't hurt. It just I ended up on the floor. You know, he wasn't assaulting me or anything like that. It wasn't like. But I went back to look for my thing, and he was probably I saw him looking at me out the window, thinking, you know what I mean, like, you know, what's he doing here? But I was just looking for my phone real quick, but I couldn't find it, so I just headed out. Now I'm heading back to talking to him, sir.
Okay.
Daniels gets patted down and searched right there on the roadside. Shortly after, another officer arrives and asks him more sternly if there's a weapon in the vehicle.
You got a gun inside the vehicle? Yes, sir. You don't have a gun inside the vehicle? No, sir. You have a gun on your person? No, sir.
No, I pat him down. Yeah, I pat him down.
Do you care if we search your vehicle? Yes, sir. I kind of do. Actually. Oh, you don't want us to search your vehicle? Yeah, but not because I don't have a gun. I just don't. I'm not consent to that. It's not necessary. I'm on the way home. No, it is necessary because right now you're involved in an investigation. Oh, no, sir. No.
Mavericks aren't doing well at all. They lost their first game.
I just explained to him.
Wait, it's 3-1? I thought they just played their first game. What?
It wasn't
Let me look. What?
a consult or anything. He knocked my phone out, and so I went back over to his house, and I was looking for my phone to see if it was on the ground, but I couldn't find the phone there.
They are up 2-1. What the
Hollis
fuck?
Daniels
I'm a little
is
behind,
completely
dude.
within his rights to say no to a search of his vehicle. Even
I'm a little
though there were
behind.
reports about a stolen firearm, and authorities strongly suspected there might be one in his vehicle, they didn't have a search warrant.
You don't want me to search though? Yes, sir. You don't? Yes, sir. I cannot search your vehicle for a gun. Yes, sir.
Without a warrant, there wasn't much else they could do. Hollis Daniels was free to go. Cops might have assumed maybe Leo played a prank on him.
And hang on to him. I'm gonna go there and see what's going on that side, then I'll be back over here. So might as well
Just an hour later at 2 a.m., Hollis Daniels' roommate reports a gunshot. Looking back, it's clear that if his vehicle had been searched, a truly horrific tragedy could likely have been avoided altogether. Today we delve into the story of Hollis Daniels and how this 19-year-old college student became an active
You
shooter
don't
at
want to end
Texas
up.
Tech and became a cop killer. So
You
what
don't want to
turned
end
a
up being
simple,
like
innocent
the Denver.
19-year-old
It's gonna go
into a
7
cop
series.
killer?
Denver's.
Well, let's fast forward to 2 a.m. It's the crack of dawn on a Monday, October 9th, 2017. Over at Texas Tech University, campus police get a call about shots fired from one of the dorms. When they hustle over, the roommate of Hollis Daniels claims he apparently fired a round in his room at around 2 a.m. They even shot him a text asking what the hell happened. He replied he had dropped something, but that bang was way too loud. Eventually, Hollis confesses to his roommates that he accidentally fired a gun into his ceiling. And one of his roommates even saw him with a 9mm handgun.
He said he heard shots go off.
They heard one gunshot, and then he texted the roommate in here about it, and then they talked to him, and at first he said he dropped something.
We never saw the actual.
Oklahoma. What are the odds? I don't know.
Seconds, he saw
Check it out right now.
9mm handgun.
Now here's where it gets fuzzy. When the cops came knocking, Hollis was missing and they didn't barge in. Fast forward to later that day, around 6 p.m., campus police return. Leading the charge were 48-year-old Officer Floyd East Jr. and his partner, Officer Tyler Snelson.
Texas Tech Police Department. If you don't open up, we're keying in.
Officer East knocked on the door of dorm room 134 over and over.
Yeah, I think they might win.
After announcing their intention to come in, Officer
Oh
East
shit!
whips out
I
a
just
key
messaged
they
the
got
wrong
from
person.
The university staff and enters the dorm room. Inside, the officers announced their presence and woke up one of the roommates who must have been fast asleep.
What's up, man? What's your name? Andy. Andy? Is that who we're looking for?
No, we're looking for Hollis.
I just woke up. I'm sorry.
That's okay. What do you know about your partner that lives in this room down here?
Hollis Daniels.
Hollis? I don't know a whole lot about him. Really. I don't know. I haven't really hung out with these guys a whole lot.
Okay.
Did you hear or see anything kind of weird last night in the middle of the night?
Denver in 7, bro.
Last night?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No, I got in kind of late last night because I went home for the weekend.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Do you happen to have your tech ID with you?
Yeah.
Just so we can log who we talked to. Thank you.
Andy explains that he was on his way back to school from his parents' place when the supposed gunshot was fired in the dorm. He genuinely seemed clueless about what's been going down. With that, he shuffles back to bed, leaving the officers to carry on with their sweep of the residence. Next stop, Hollis Daniels' room. Unlike their last visit, the officers decide to crack the door open this time, and again, no Hollis Daniels in sight. Just an empty room. Another officer joins the scene, and together they take a closer look around.
Denver in 7
That's
against the
when they spot
Timberwolves,
something
bro.
fishy.
Calling
A mark
it.
on the wall that looks like it's been recently touched up with paint.
It looks like just a paint tube.
What's that up there? They're covered up.
Yeah, some kind of touch-up paint right there.
It might be a Dallas Celtics
But
final this
then
year,
they
honestly.
find something even more sinister.
There's a gun right here. A revolver.
They stumble upon a revolver lying on Hollis Daniels' bookshelf. Talk about finding the unexpected. They quickly train their flashlights on a cluttered desk nearby. Loose pills, a can of CO2, and all sorts of drug paraphernalia are stuffed inside the drawers. It's like something straight out of a crime drama.
And this is...
That's a Crossman. That's CO2.
Dude's huffing
Looks
CO2
like,
and shit.
well, this is why he didn't want to answer earlier for us.
The two officers then bring the third officer up to speed.
He said he heard shots go off.
Yeah, they heard one gunshot, and then he texted the roommate in here about it, and then they talked to him, and at first he said he dropped something, and then he said his gun accidentally went off, and then he saw 2 holes.
Classic fat cop pulling up his pants.
He says he did. For a couple seconds, he saw what looked like a 9mm handgun.
Despite what Hollis Daniels' roommates claimed earlier, the police couldn't find solid evidence that he'd fired a weapon in his room. Sure, there was that mark on the wall, possibly from a small caliber round, but nothing conclusive. So they decided to pivot their investigation toward the stuff they did find. A whole stash of illegal controlled substances in Daniels' room. Officer Snelson slips on a pair of latex gloves, and they start sifting through the drugs laid out on the desk.
But we can't tell from plain view, so we'll just go ahead and seize all that. Yeah, go ahead and grab a bag, and then we'll start packaging this up.
What's up, Rocky?
Next up on the discovery list, a pill bottle sporting a prescription label, freshly filled just a few months back. Talk about a smoking gun, or in this case, a popping pill bottle. It's another piece of the puzzle that's starting to come together.
Because it was filled on March 27th of this year, so it's for erythro. And then I don't know what those pills are, but there's another Xanax in there. And when I was looking inside this box, it looks like there's a little bag with some marijuana, maybe.
Oh no, you said marijuana.
Just when the officers thought they'd hit the jackpot, they stumbled upon even more drugs. It's like every drawer they open reveals another layer to this tangled web of illegal substances. Things weren't shaping up too well for Hollis Daniels. Midway through the search, Daniels himself appears out of nowhere. In the doorway around 6:30 p.m., Hollis Daniels gave a fake name to the police. He called himself Andreas.
Hang on, what's your name, bud?
Come here, buddy. What's up? What's your name? Andreas. No, it's not. Come on.
But as soon as he lied to the officers, his roommate corrected him. He said, "No, you are not." He tries to make a quick getaway, but the police detained him. They steer him right back inside. The pat down once inside, Daniels is instructed to sit on the couch. Officer Snelson then commands him to stand up.
Here, stand up for me real quick. Do you have any weapons or anything on you? Interlace your fingers on top of your head.
What is this called?
Keep your hands right there, okay? I'll explain it to you as soon as I get done. Spread your feet out a little for me. What's all in this pocket?
Money.
Money? Yeah, I can take it out?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put it all on the couch, okay?
Hey, you need to go outside, you little twerp? You need to go outside?
Is it okay to just empty out all your pockets while we're doing this?
Do you have?
Don't move your hands.
No, is that necessary?
I'm asking you a question.
No, I don't consent to it. No.
Okay.
Officers.
I'll be back in a second. Gotta take the little man outside. Come on. Come on. All right, yo. I'm gonna go buy a PlayStation controller. I'll be back later. Peace. I'm gonna go buy a PS4 controller.